So I messed up, big time. But before I show you guys what I messed up, let me go ahead and show you what I did right. So while I'm waiting for the steel to come in, I've got a couple of foam blocks from our leftover foam, and I'd like to create some mounting pads on the deck. That way when the steel comes in, I can actually mount it onto the fiberglass without damaging what is already there and making sure that it is strong and more importantly flat. Right now the deck is very curvy. Goal is going to be to make 2 points back here with the foam that can act as a flat surface to mount onto. Once I have them shaped, I will glass them in. I'll have to take up some of the gel coat off the deck and then stick that whole thing on top. So I've got the foam block for the starboard side done. The next step is to cut out the one for the port side, and then I'm going to glass them together. But now you can kind of see more clearly what I'm trying to go for. I need a pad, basically, that the steel connections are going to be able to screw into. So this will be really thick fiberglass on top and then a little bit thinner on the sides, and this whole thing will just kind of glue down onto deck and give us the support. It's very windy out, so I got to work fast, but the goal is to get these two encased in some fiberglass on the top, and I'm going to use the plastic sheet here as an impromptu vacuum bag. I'm going to wrap it up, tape it up, and then suck a vacuum on it and let them cure. Hopefully it works out. If not, no big deal. We have plenty of materials to try it again. Admittedly, that is not my best work, but I think when these cure, it'll be workable. I can sand it out and use a thickened epoxy to kind of reinforce it and make it fared. This is really hard to do when you don't have a proper budget or warehouse or something to work in, but it is what it is. Okay, so these guys are glassed in, but they look kind of derpy. Some of the fiberglass didn't really bond to the sides. So my goal today is going to be to get rid of all that bad fiberglass bonding. What I think I'm going to have to do, instead of one big sheet of fiberglass, I'm going to have to take smaller pieces and glue them on individually to make sure that they actually adhere. It's annoying, but sometimes you gotta do it. So it's been a couple weeks now, but I have enough hardware to finally get started on reinforcing the bimini structure. I'm going to focus on getting the forward parts of it done first because I am still missing a few pieces, and I'll wait to do the back side later. But the goal for this afternoon is to measure out and cut some of the steel tubing and use some of the clamps and other pieces to actually have it rigidly connected. Alright, so these bases are actually at an angle. That's why I had to come in at an angle. My plan is to finish this up, to go buy some screws. I realized I didn't actually have any stainless steel screws, so we'll get those, install that permanently. I'll probably put some butyl tape under there so that nothing drips into the boat. And then this should be pretty rock solid. And we'll do it on the other side, do it on the back side, and then the foundation will have been laid so that by the time we're finished with this project, I should have a pretty sturdy bimini. If anybody ever asks why it's important to measure twice and then cut once, it is because these are too big for that, which I cut out, formed, shaped without ever measuring that, which is supposed to mount on top of it. So I'm going to have to cut off the mount on both sides, which I didn't make it easy to do because I put a ton of fiberglass down there, and then I'm going to have to remake them much longer. I'm also going to probably make them shorter and a little bit more round. There were a lot of good lessons learned in the fiberglassing of these because they are small components. But I'm going to do all that off camera because filming actually makes things go a lot slower. So I finally finished the reinforcements on that side, which means that I can mount the panels on. I've got them currently secured with these U-bolts on here that they're a little bit too small, so I'm going to probably have to buy some custom size U-bolts in the near future. And perfect timing, it is starting to rain. Tropical Storm Nathan is on its way. That'll be the ultimate test to see if this can hold up. And if it does hold up, then I think we're good to go. If it doesn't, then we'll have to redesign it. As you can see, Tropical Storm Nicholas has just arrived on the scene. This thing's rock solid. It hasn't moved a bit. It's not even bolted down in the middle. I think we're good to go. Okay, everything survived Hurricane Nicholas just fine, actually. I didn't even have to bolt down the middle part in order for that to happen. Went ahead and cut out a rectangular hole for the window. The window is going to be polycarbonate, and I ordered it yesterday, so that should be in sometime next week. In order to join these panels together, because of the differences and the warping and all that, I've decided I'm going to do these individually. So first up, I'm going to have to clamp all of these together to make sure that the edges are going to be even, and then I'm going to put thin strips of fiberglass on both the top and bottom in order to kind of fuse those sides together. Once everything is being held together with that, I'll be able to go in and kind of do a better job filling and fairing the joint. We might have to actually take this off the boat in order to get to the bottom side effectively, but overall everything is coming together better than expected. Okay, I've got a cup full of thickened epoxy. It's about peanut butter consistency, just like I like it. I've got the back part of this hardtop clamped down using some pieces of wood and clamps. Below it, I have a plastic sheet to catch any dripping. So we're going to just go around and throw some of this stuff in there. Hopefully when it sets up tomorrow, it'll be cured enough to hold it together. In these areas where I've got a large gap, I'm actually just going to kind of leave it as a little spot and act kind of like a spot weld. Then I'm going to go in and add more over here. That way when it cures, this will be joined together. At that point, I'll be able to come back and put a fiberglass sheet over the top of this to kind of seal up this side of it. So the window finally came in. I've got it kind of centered out. Well, I had it centered out until I moved it there. Okay, I have it more or less exactly where I want it, so I'm going to go ahead and mark the edges here so that I can find that position again. So in my mind, the curvature here would be a lot more extreme, but honestly, looking at it now practically, I don't see why I couldn't just glue it directly down. I'm going to take the backing off of the bottom, put some thickened epoxy down around the edges here, and then we'll just kind of set it on. To make sure that the boom can't catch it after it's already set, I'm going to put a fillet of thickened epoxy all the way around the edge. Anything that kind of comes along this way kind of doesn't catch, but we'll do that tomorrow. Today, I just want to get it on so that we're good to go there. So the edge on this side is on and curing. I totally underestimated how many clamps it would take to get it to be straight. So before I go on to the next side, I'll have to let this get really tacky so that I can take some of these clamps off and move them over to the other side. Or I'll have to figure out another way of clamping it in place. But this should be good to go. I'm going to add another triangle of foam to kind of connect the middle part to the edge here. Then I'll probably be going around rounding all the edges on everything to make sure that it is nice and smooth, but we're getting pretty close. So the shape of everything has more or less been finalized. I've rounded the edges. I've added in some pieces on the front and back to give it a little bit more shape, make everything nice and smooth. I've put epoxy on all the edges as well to keep the foam stable in the meantime. The next step, I'm going to have to unbolt it and then flip it over so that I can get the bottom side fully glassed, faired, and all of that. And then we'll put it back on because I have limited space. One other thing I wanted to show on the back here is that this lip here is meant to keep the boom off of the top of this. So as the boom swings back and forth while I'm sailing, hopefully this will act as kind of a rub rail to prevent either the window or any solar panels I have from getting knocked off in the future. So in the future I'm going to have to actually probably put a little bit more fiberglass on this to make it extra strong back here. So here's where the trouble started. As soon as I tried to take it off the frame, it actually fell and cracked one of the corners. And as I tried to put it back onto the frame, it shattered in 3 different places. Now, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to rebuild it as it was, but I have a plan moving forward. I'm going to have 3 separate pieces that bolt together. At the moment, I have 2 of the wooden pieces back on the frame and mounted temporarily. I'll be able to rebuild the middle part, and it'll be made out of the foam stuff. That way it's light enough that I can manipulate it easier. The foam plus wood was just way too heavy for this project. As a reminder, I've said it before, but I'm going to be slowed down on new content for a while. I've been training on the tall ship Alyssa. You can actually see me right up here in the rig. And you can say that I've been a little bit distracted lately from the boat, but this is Courtney. She is a new crew member on board, and she's probably going to be here to stay. Anyway, from us at Sailing Anticipation, bye!